Hello everyone, this is a psychic prediction video for September 2025. This is titled Wild Chaos Incoming because this is going to be quite the interesting month. Today's date is August 31st. I am a little late putting this together, but regardless, it is not September quite yet. So in this video, I will be going over psychic visions that I have seen coming for us in September relating to world news, Bitcoin, stock prices, Trump, ETs, fluctuations of Earth's energy, and strange Earth shifts going on, and some general advice for the month. So the first thing that I saw in meditation was visions of firework explosions representing some sort of explosion. Usually when I see this, it represents an explosion of some type. Sometimes it can be a literal firework, but I think it's probably not a literal firework in this instance. And I saw Donald Trump reacting to this, and he looked very shocked and not sure what to do. There was a little bit of a panicky kind of feeling from him. It feels like it could be a new country that is suddenly becoming a threat to the U.S. unexpectedly. So there's something about it feeling unexpected, which makes me think that it could be a new country that we're not already dealing with. Or it could be a country that we are already dealing with, but something that just comes out of the blue that was not foreseen by most people, except maybe me, I guess you could say. But regardless, Donald Trump seems very troubled by this situation. I see him sending out planes to scope out an area, as if to scope out what's going on within other countries to try and figure out a plan, a solution. But these planes come back and they don't really have much information that's helpful to him. So it just seems like they come back empty-handed and he's not really able to come up with some sort of solution. So it just doesn't seem to work out very well for him. However, I do see that he ends up dropping the subject and letting go of the idea of having control over the situation and just letting it pass because he can't do anything about it. He does seem very angry about this, however, in the month of September. I get the sense that this could involve a country that's disobeying Trump and doing the opposite of what he wants. I definitely got the sense that this could be, and I'm not sure about this, but it could be Russia, or it could be some sort of BRICS nation, sort of associated with Russia. I don't see the general U.S. population feeling threatened by this, but it seems to be more of a threat towards Donald Trump's image, basically a major blow towards him, you could say. So also, moving on, I was getting the sense, I was seeing Epstein showing up, as though Epstein's going to be in the news in September again. Something about there being more information that the public is learning about the case in September, but I also don't get the sense that there are any legal actions taking place. It's just more of like a public awareness of the situation. I do see planes dropping what could be bombs or missiles. I'm not sure, but it definitely doesn't look good, whatever it is. This feels like it could be somewhere in the Middle East, and of course you're probably rolling your eyes like, well, duh. Either way, that's what I was seeing. I do get the sense that this could be something new from what we have already seen. As in, it's not just a repeat of what's been going on, but there's some sort of escalation in a new direction. And, usually when I say that, it's, something actually does happen that's different. I feel as though China is somehow related or going to be important in all of this taking place in September, although I think that this could just be as simple as China supplying weapons. Regardless, it does seem like there is a new level or a new military escalation of some sort in September. I do not believe this to be a long-lasting war like Ukraine or Israel, though. By the way, both of those I predicted before they happened, just so you know. That I'm not just saying, oh, there's going to be explosions, because obviously there's war going on. Just so you know, 2 years before Russia invaded Ukraine, I said in 2022, the specific year, and I said that Moscow would invade Ukraine and the US would be involved, but not involved in direct combat. And that's literally what happened. I also predicted that it would be like a 5-year war or longer, potentially. And that's what it's been. And I also, I believe it was October 2023, I think, is when Hamas invaded Israel. And that whole thing blew up. That month before it happened, I said jokingly at the beginning of the video that it was the end of the world. But then I said, just kidding. But there's going to be a new event that's going to be just like the Russia conflict, but it's not going to be that. So just so you know, I did predict these things. So I'm not just saying, as people have been commenting, oh, you're just saying there's explosions and war because that's already happening and it's obvious. Sure. Okay. Whatever. Anyways, moving on here. Where am I at in my notes? Russia looks like it's going to be destroying Ukraine. And it kind of already has been, but again, that's what I'm saying for September. Actually, 3 months ago, I predicted that September could be when Ukraine gives up to Russia. What's ironic is that just recently in the last month or so, people have been talking about that being the case, or people have been talking about there being a finalized peace treaty or resolution of some sort, basically involving Ukraine just giving up the land that Russia has taken. So that does seem like that's coming up. I did say that 3 months ago. That wasn't in the news 3 months ago. Now it is. However, now that September is approaching, I do feel as though it could go on a little bit longer than September. Of course, when I said 3 months ago that it could happen in September, I also said that it could happen September or somewhere around that month. I do feel as though it does seem as though it's more likely to happen in the following months. But not too much longer, I don't think. Keep in mind that for a very long time now, I've been saying this, and I will repeat it one more time, that even when the official war between Russia and Ukraine is resolved, sorry, I didn't mean to go like that to war. I meant to go like that too. When the war is resolved, it will not actually be fully resolved, and there will be continued battles and continued bloodshed. So in a sense, you could say technically the war is over, but like there's still fighting going on. So that's what I've been saying for a very long time, and I still believe that to be the case. So moving on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has started to go down towards the end of August, as I predicted, mostly going sideways. That's what I said would happen. On my Patreon, I said that it would go up right before it did go up, and then it would come down. It did exactly as I've said. I do see it going down further into September, as I also said last month. I do continue to see that being the case, but then it could bounce right back up again mid-month. So it just seems very volatile, kind of confusing. October, after September, we could see more volatility with more gains heading up again before coming back down into November, possibly below 90K in November before it seems to kind of be more upwards overall from there for the most part. Although previous Bitcoin trajectories or predictions seem to be shifting significantly lately, and this is because the future is not entirely set in stone. So when you get a future prediction from a psychic, it's never 100% like this is going to happen. Part of the whole point of getting a prediction is that you can change it. So if somebody says, oh, it looks like you're heading in this direction in your life and it could lead down this pathway that's not where you want to be, you can be like, oh, thanks for telling me that. I'm going to change my life and go down the other path instead. That's kind of the whole point. So the future is not set in stone. And even though there are likelihoods of where things are going, it's still a likelihood. And free will gives us the ability to shift the future. And the more conscious we are, the more we have that ability. And people are becoming more conscious. And there's a lot of big factors happening regarding the future of humanity right now. And with those factors evolving, the timelines shift a lot. So it's been a little weird lately with Bitcoin. But I will say for where we're at, this does seem to be pretty much a little bit downwards from where we are now. Volatility. In the past, I saw it going down much further. I don't see that being the case as much anymore. If you want to know more about this, you can join my Patreon, stay up to date on Bitcoin, and see all the hundreds of other cryptos and stocks I've predicted. And by the way, you can join for free for the free membership level. Moving on. Previously, I predicted last month for the August prediction, I saw Trump bluffing about an escalating war with a country, bluffing about it, and I speculated it as being Russia or a combination of many countries. It turned out that it was Russia. I said there would be a threat from the ocean, but that the U.S. would end up being safe, and it was only a bluff. Now, I know this seems like maybe it never happened because it was so long ago. Once it's been like a week past something happening in the news, we completely forget about it. But this did actually happen when Trump put nuclear submarines around Russia with a specific amount of days that he had as like a countdown of like, we need to make a deal by this time or else. And he didn't really say exactly what he was going to do, but he was putting nuclear subs around Russia, pointing at them. It didn't sound too good. So Putin did end up meeting with Trump. Actually, that did actually happen because of that. And they talked and everything got resolved. Right? Except nothing really happened, as I have told you in the past, that it doesn't really matter. I mean, Putin is going to... I've said in the past that I see Putin walking away from Trump within that deal, and that just is the general vibe between them. This war will continue on. Even if there is an agreement, there will still be fighting. Even if they supposedly are no longer at war, there's still going to be this unresolved conflict, and they're going to still be fighting each other. So I don't see there being some sort of agreement where both sides win. It's basically Russia has the upper hand, and it's on Russia. Trump isn't going to be able to step in and tell Putin to do something. This is all on Putin's terms, basically. So that's where we're at. Last month, I also saw Donald Trump appearing with others, speaking to the public. And I said that they may be speaking for him, or speaking with him, or just kind of representing him. Later on my Patreon page, I corrected myself and said, actually, I think that the people that are going to be noteworthy may just be standing on stage with him and not necessarily speaking themselves, but just representing him. And that's what ended up happening. Of course, there was a meeting where I think it was the CEO of Apple or someone like that. Big technocratic takeover, to be frank with you. And technological control over the masses. That's the plan, anyways. But anyways, I said that there would be these people who were really in charge behind Donald Trump appearing with him on stage. And I didn't know who they were. And I said that we should watch to see who these people are, who these technocrats are that are pulling his strings. Eventually, I did see a person behind Donald Trump who I actually recognized from my vision, because I knew the face. I was like, that's the person that I saw who was the technocrat, who Donald Trump was on the phone with, asking for advice from, in my reading of last month, or of August. And turns out he's he's a technocrat. I'll put it that way. And you can join my Patreon to find out more about who he is. You can join for free. There is a 7-day free trial. Gives you access to the member content for free, and you can cancel before you get charged. I highly recommend that, just to check it out, and just put it in your phone to cancel it the day before it charges you, and you don't pay anything. Last month I said that Colombia may be under threat of being attacked. I said they may be attacked or be under threat of being attacked. So, it wasn't Colombia. I was wrong. However, it was Venezuela, who shares borders and cartels with Colombia. So it wasn't Colombia, but it was literally right next door. And the cartels kind of intermingle a little bit. So in the news, Donald Trump was targeting these cartels when he sent a guided missile destroyer in their ocean territory. That was pretty recent, I think within the last week or so. So at this point, if you're watching and you want to support my work, give this video a thumbs up. Always appreciate that. Leave a comment below and subscribe if you haven't yet for monthly predictions every month before the month starts. And I went over Bitcoin. I kind of forgot to go over the stock market. So the stock market went down at first and then recovered, going sideways as I predicted last month. And I continue to see that prediction continuing out, which is what I said was that it would continue to go sideways with volatility through September. Now, for September, I'm also seeing strong winds and landslides. Lots of wind and landslides. So I also got the sense that it could be dangerous to go on long trips, especially on the highway or just anywhere driving long distances where you might get stranded somewhere. That's not to say you shouldn't go anywhere or to, you know, fearmonger. I'm just letting you know that's what showed up. So, you know, if you're not sure about something, you're like flipping a coin on an idea, maybe just lean towards safety, I guess. I also got the sense that it would be good for people to make sure they have a backup of water. And this is what I said for people in Japan right before there was a whole bunch of crazy stuff with flooding in Japan, and earthquakes and people losing access to water. So now I'm getting the sense of something similar in the US, but also just around the planet in general. Just the earth shaking in general, just the whole world. So watch for earthquakes in September. Last month I described as the eye of the storm, and I was saying that last month was going to be crazy because of the residual energies, but that overall the energies were toning down before ramping back up into September. So here we are going back into September, and it's going to get crazy again. I also got the sense that there could be problems with infrastructure underground in major U.S. cities. So this could be, I don't know exactly what this could be. This could be like cords or pipes breaking. That would make sense with people not having access to water. But I also kind of got the sense that it could just be like very generalized, not necessarily one thing or another, just the underneath cities, and there being some sort of problem with the infrastructure. I don't know exactly what that will be, but I guess we'll have to wait and find out. So again, probably good to be stocked up on what you need to survive. I got this strange sense that reality is distorted in September, and I wasn't really sure what that meant, to be honest. But it's as if everything is breaking down as far as the structures that control society. I did get the sense that humanity would be fine, for the most part. There may be some explosions and war and horrible things happening, but you know what I mean. Overall, humanity will be fine. And along with that came the advice, just ride the wave, as being really important to remember. When I tuned more into this might be a little far out there, but I got the sense that there's some sort of battle going on in the cosmos involving ETs, and that this is affecting Earth's vibration. And there's an attack, or I should say an attempt of an attack, on the Earth to put humans back in the Matrix, if you want to call it that, for lack of a better, or maybe that is the perfect term, I don't know. But to kind of keep us under control. But that we are escaping it, partly because of our own frequency, but also because of other energies that are fighting that off, which is basically a battle of ETs. It's the way it was coming through to me, at least. And that this is causing distortions and confusion within or on Earth. The Earth may be reacting strangely, and we may see a lot of mini natural disasters all around the globe. I didn't get the sense that it was going to be like major, like destructive, like one major destructive thing, but instead many small little natural disasters all over the place. So I don't know if that's better or worse, but maybe it seemed better, I guess. Either way, this kind of disruption of the Earth's magnetic field and the attack on the energy and the consciousness in Earth, on Earth, whatever you want to say. Because of that, it's not only influencing the Earth and causing the Earth to react in strange ways, but it's also causing human consciousness itself to kind of overreact and be a little unstable. And this can also be part of the energy that leads to the manifestation of explosions of war, just more chaos in general. But I do get the sense that this is a very sharp, temporary increase, and then it just kind of goes away. Just very temporary. So it's not going to be like Ukraine or Israel or any of those situations. So what is this month good for? When I asked that question, what came to me was waiting. This is a great month to wait and do nothing. The image that I saw was someone standing above a pool filled with alligators, thinking about jumping up on a zip line and zip lining over them, but standing there and being like, maybe I should think about this. And the answer I got was, wait. So, if you're thinking about doing any high stakes, big risk type of activities, maybe consider waiting. That would be my advice. Also good for this month is conservative actions, conservative investing, meaning low risk investing. Don't be making huge, drastic moves, in other words. What is the month bad for? I got traveling, as I already kind of mentioned before. And swimming. It's not a good month for swimming, is what I get. And when I asked why, I got that there might be unclean waters. Now, I'm not sure if this is totally literal or maybe symbolic or maybe a little bit of both. It's probably a little bit of both. But I guess we'll have to see how that turns out. Also, not a good month for abrasive action, as I kind of already said. In a way, the good and the bad for the month almost all seemed kind of bad, but, just a crazy time, I guess you could say. And the advice for the month that came through was, don't jump to conclusions or commit to much of anything for this month. However, I do see the skies clearing and making way for a rainbow later on in the month. And so that's the positive. It does seem that there will be some craziness, and then the skies will clear, and then we will see the rainbow. So, there's hope at the end of the tunnel. Now, one thing that I wanted to mention is kind of just something that's in the news that is related to what I've said in the past, which is that Donald Trump is working against certain factions of the deep state while still working with other factions of the deep state, because there are many different sides, and some of these factions will even refer to themselves as the white hats sometimes and be like, we're the good guys. I don't know. Depends how you look at it, I guess. Maybe in some way they're fighting off what they view as worse than them, but they're still part of the corrupt house of cards still. So anyways, I just want to point out something that happened in the news. And if you want to know more about this, you can go back and watch my previous videos where I talk a lot about Trump. But anyways, Trump in January of 2025, when he first came into office, said that the drones in the sky, which was a big deal, and he said he needed to get to the bottom of this, made a big deal about it. Then he came out and said the drones were, quote, authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. That's what he said. However, recently, in August, he said, I think it was August. No, I'm pretty sure it was August. but I'm gonna say I think so, just because I'm not 100% sure. But recently he's said that he knows what the drones are but can't tell us. Okay, so that's a contradiction. Does he know what the drones are but he can't tell us? Or, and like, what's going on? What's he hiding? He said he was going to expose this all. But he says that they were authorized to be flown by the FFA for research and various other reasons. And he said that we need to get to the bottom of this. He's going to tell us. He's going to expose it all. Now he says he knows what they are, but he can't tell us. It just doesn't seem like the transparent government that he promised. So anyways, I just wanted to leave you with that note. And also, of course, I have to mention that I've updated my Patreon, posting more information about the man who is behind Donald Trump and his agendas and what's being pushed by him. Also, I've gone over how technology, especially in the technocratic world that we're living in now, the hierarchical people are being put in charge, but also the technology is being used to basically control us. And I've been saying this for like a long time now, but it's become a very popular discussion. People have been asking more questions about it, so I've written more about it on my Patreon, and how these are being used to affect us even energetically. Of course, I also talk about Ghislaine Maxwell, the cyber attacks, things of that nature, and I do blind readings. Recently, I did a blind reading on George Soros, someone named Vitaly Klitschko. Anyways, he's a Ukrainian politician that someone requested I do a reading on. And Travis Walton, who the movie Fire in the Sky was based off of. And all of those three people, including George Soros, I did blind readings on, meaning I did not know who I was doing the reading on before I did it, which basically means I just borrowed the remote viewing protocol where you assign a bunch of different things to random digit numbers, and I am presented with a random digit number, and I do a reading on the random digit number. Once I have written my whole reading on that and finished it, then I use AI to tell me what name was associated with that random digit number, so that then I know who I did the reading on. And then I look up what the information is that is in the public domain and compare that to what I got, which is always interesting. And then from there I do some more reading, which is no longer a blind reading, but I still, after I compare what I came up with the public information, I usually have more questions, and I just do more reading on it, even if it's not under blind protocols anymore. But anyways, it's a psychic encyclopedia with hundreds of different politicians, famous people, important people making claims online, all the crazy stuff that you want to know about if you like my content. And of course, I have hundreds of crypto predictions, and recently I've been doing a lot more stock price predictions. So join my Patreon if you want all that information. I also do intuitive readings, which I am starting to think I should call it intuitive reading instead of psychic reading, because my readings aren't really about predicting the future. My YouTube channel is, but my readings on an individual level isn't. It's less about predicting the future, and it's more about seeing where people are at in the current moment energetically, and what energies are influencing them, what's going on in their life, where they are stuck, where they are growing, and how to navigate through that to find the best outcome. And so it's less about saying this is where I see you in the future, and it's more about saying this is what you're dealing with, and this is how you can shift your future and make it better. So yeah, I do future predictions, but it's not really about the future predictions as much as it is more of like an intuitive reading on your energy and kind of where you're at. And it's more insightful. I've been called numerous times by different people a psychic psychologist, which I think is very fitting, and I really like that label. So I think it defines what I do pretty well. So, anyways, I do that, and then I also do budget friendly readings, which are just written readings, where if you just have one question and you just want me to write an answer, I can do that too for much cheaper. So check out my website, link below this video, and join my Patreon if you want for free, and check out the 7-day free trial for the membership section. My website is psychictie.com. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.